Hello, Spirit of the Woods members. This is Chad writing here. I had a request from a fellow member to do a video on the belt system I use when I'm in the woods. I'm also going to use this as an opportunity for those of you who are just getting into the hobby, or those who are budget minded, to kind of show something that is very cost effective, durable, and easy to use. So the whole core of this whole system is this here, this belt, which is known as the LBE, or load bearing equipment belt. Some people call it a pistol belt, same thing. This particular version was used in the 70s to 90s, and this has a fast axe buckle, which is pretty quick, easy to use. Some of them have a metal buckle, but this just happens to be the one I have. I bought this belt a long time ago. This was like the first piece, one of the first pieces of bushcraft equipment I bought. I've used it for years. It's durable, holds up well, withstands pretty much everything I throw at it. I could have long ago gotten a leather belt and leather pouches, but I just kind of stick with this because it works. I have a tendency to use what works for me. So anyways, let me show you the two different configurations I use for this. Right now this is kind of set up in what I call the Scout configuration, or just day hike configuration. This is for when I want to just do a quick, run through the woods, just a quick little tramp, a couple hours, whatnot. I'll combine this with like a haversack if I'm going to be out for a little bit longer for food purposes. But sometimes I just go out just to kind of ramble through the woods, and then I just go with this. So we have the suspenders here, which are hooked on in the front and the back, and it's a classic Y configuration. And what that does is just help distribute the weight better, because in this mode I kind of have a little more on it than what I do when I combine it with a backpack. So we'll start on my right, and then we'll go around and I'll show you what I got here. So first here on my right is actually a 40mm single round carrier that is a Molly pouch versus a Alice type pouch. So for those of you who know that if you put a Molly type pouch on these belts, they have a tendency to slide. So what I do is I use a Alice clip to hold this on, and it doesn't move. I mean, it's on there good, it ain't going anywhere. This pouch is always on this belt, and you can see it holds my tomahawk really well. I mean, it's like it was made for it. And you could probably use this also with a hatchet. I've never tried it with a hatchet, but I'm sure it will fit that. It might take some modification. It's easy to modify. Next, as we go around, I'm going to unbuckle this here so I can kind of spin it. We have a sight carrying pouch of some sort. I forget exactly what it's for, but I know it's for some kind of sight. Those of you might know, so if you do, PM me, I'd like to know. I use this kind of as an odds and ends, possibles pouch, as you want to call it. It usually has some tinder in here, some paracord. I also keep in here my Gossman survival tool. And this little thing is a nice piece of gear. If you can get one of these from Scott Gossman, I'd highly recommend it. What it's basically used for is sharpening and honing your knife. This is made from D2 steel. There's also a chisel end on there, which is like really sharp, and that could be used to cut things, split wood, or debone an animal. It's just a nice little multi-use tool. Not that expensive. This is the smaller version. They do make a longer one. So if you can get a hold of one of them, they're hit or miss. He makes them different times. And it usually comes with this little black pouch, which is, has a Velcro thing. I can put this on the belt, but I just prefer to carry it in here. Snap shut. I have my knife also hanging from here, using a little spring-loaded D-ring. That's just a little loop of paracord there, holding that on. So that works for me. I'm sure other people would come up with a different way to carry it, but that's what I go with. As we get further around here, I have my canteen, which is the Pathfinder canteen. Plane going overhead. Just give us a moment here. Look out. Anyways, this is just the Pathfinder canteen, like I said, and this is the carrier it comes with. I have the whole set, the hanger, whole thing. This is also, those of you who know about it, is a MOLLE pouch, also held in place with a Alice strap, or Alice clip. Then, on this side, I have a compass pouch that's Alice clipped in. I do have a compass in there. This could be used for other things, but I do use it for a compass. This pouch here is a Ranger pouch. What I was told from my friend at the military surplus shop. This uses also a MOLLE strap system, but it's not the one with the snaps. I think it's an earlier one where it's like a cloth rivet, or almost cloth straps that kind of fold in on themselves, and the one end is stiff, and they just kind of go in there and fold in, and it doesn't move. I mean, it works awesome with this belt. I usually carry my fire kit in here. I have my tar cloth, my flint and steel set, also have a ferro rod, and a pocket bellows, you know, for those of you who know what those are. Then last but certainly not least, I have this, which is somewhat new to the market. It came out a couple months ago. It hasn't even been a year yet. This is a Centerline Systems FSP, or folding saw pouch. Usually costs about, I think about 50 bucks, 50 to 60, somewhere around there, depending on where you get it. This also is a MOLLE type strap, also held in place with a Alice clip. The nice thing about this thing, and one reason why I suggest getting this, is this has 3 mounting options. It has the MOLLE strap. There's a little loop on the inside here, so you can pass it through another belt. This particular belt's too wide, obviously, so it won't go through here. Then there's a sleeve that runs 3/4 of the length of the pouch. You can see it there. And what that is for is if you have an axe or another tool, you can carry that on the axe or the other tool in combination together. Now those of you are probably wondering, why don't I just carry the tomahawk in the FSP? And the reason being is that this pouch isn't always on my belt. It's only on this belt in this configuration, and that's what I like about the load bearing equipment belt. It's very modular, it's very adaptable. You can set it up how you want. So usually when I use this with a backpack, my folding saw is in my backpack because I don't use my saw all the time. When I'm traveling through the woods from camp to camp or hiking a couple miles. So anyways, that's this configuration, what I call the Scout, or however, rambling, whatever you want to call it. I'll show you the next configuration when I have it combine this with a backpack. Okay, hi. So now this is the belt in the way that I would say 3/4 of the time I have it. This is when I combine it with a backpack. As you can see, the folding saw pouch is gone. The canteen is gone. And obviously the suspenders, because I don't need them with the backpack. I have the fire kit because I like to have my fire kit on hand and handy. My compass, my knife, and then the Gossaman tool and tinder pouch. And as you can see, I still have my tomahawk, and that's why I don't have the FSP on. Now the tomahawk will sometimes be in my pack or if I plan on using it a lot, which is, for those of you who know me well, the tomahawk is my main tool. I actually use it a lot. I'll just keep it in here versus in my backpack. So it just depends on what I might run into in the day or where I plan on going or whatnot. So that's why I always keep this 40mm Molly pouch on there, because it just, like I said, it works well. If you can find this, it's a good little pouch to have. I think I paid $1 for it. So anyways, so that's my kit, my setup. One thing I'm going to remind you, and is for those of you who are just starting out, I am not going to stand here and say that this is the best way to set this belt up. This is what works for me, and I'm not going to say that, you know, my way is the best way. That I am not that person. I'm a firm believer in using what works for you, and as long as you're out here in the woods, you know, enjoying yourself and doing what you need to do, as long as it works for you, that's great. And there's also some other things you can add to this belt, such as the butt pack and some other stuff, but I don't use them. And I'm not going to knock anybody who sets this up a different way. So, but this is just how I use it. Like I said, this is very budget friendly. It's very durable. For those of you who are worrying about looking like tactical, if you don't add the suspenders, it really isn't that obvious. You know, it's just a olive drab green overbelt with a couple pouches on, you know. It's just all what you want to use. And that's about it. So have a nice day, safe journeys, and fair weather.